Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back into another edition of Jake's Takes. I am your host, Jake Masucci, and I am happy to be joined by my guy, Brody Parker. I am super excited for this. We're going to be starting part one of our college athletes series, and I'm really excited to have you on the pod, Brody. This is really awesome.
Yeah, this is a great thing here you're doing. I really like this. I'm excited to get to it. We chopped it up a lot during our practices at Oakland. We had a lot of good conversations before practice, so I'm excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about this. This is definitely going to be exciting. We'll kind of talk about pretty much your whole life growing up as an athlete. We'll get into what you're doing now, all that. I'm really excited to get into this, but why don't we start out with kind of how you grew up, okay? So you grew up in Troy. You played at Troy High School and played for 4 years, and we actually grew up in the same basketball camp with my dad running the camp, and that was really interesting. I never got to play on your level because you were always playing with my brothers up, and I was like, I want to take on Brody. This would be fun, but now I would not want to take you on. No way. But let's talk about just how did you get into the game of basketball?
Well, as you know, my dad is a big name in like the basketball community, Metro Detroit area. So he just has a lot of connections, and just from a young age, he really kind of like bred me into being a basketball player. He trained me when I was young. I started before, I want to say, like anybody else. I really started super young. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he really got me into it, and it didn't take much convincing for him because I just liked the sport to begin with. So it was kind of like a love I've always had, and I kind of just pursued it and chased it after that. And it was kind of like, I want to say more of a, I'm going to go have fun instead of I'm going to go work, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's enjoyable to me, so.
Yeah. I mean, that makes complete sense. And, growing up with you and in those camps, I always loved the story, and I told it to you during the middle of the year last year. But how my brothers were working out, my dad would make this 10,000 shot 10,000 shot book, and my brothers were working out, and they were only at like 5,000 shots in the summer, and my dad goes to them, he's like, Brody finished his book like a month ago.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man, we got to get going on this.
That was one of the biggest summers for my progression, actually, because at the start of the summer, your dad had that camp, the Roy Love camp. Attitude, Excellence, Others. I still remember it. And he gave us that booklet, and it was only, I think, for a month maybe, but I took it for the whole summer, and I made 36,000 shots that summer.
Wow.
I was outside every day with my dad just shooting a bunch. So that when I was that young doing that really kind of excelled me over a lot of people at that time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't understand just the work that goes into being a college athlete, because it's kind of ridiculous, especially, I mean, no offense, but somebody your size, being a guard, you have to be able to shoot the ball.
Yep.
And shooting those 36,000 shots, you said, that's unbelievable, man. It's tough work. So I want to really get into this, especially with the basketball players that come on to the show, because I'm so interested in how you got better. That was always like a question that I would ask, like, how do I get better this summer? It's really difficult. Like, it's going to go through weaknesses and stuff like that. But how did you see yourself getting better each summer, and what things did you really focus on?
It's really just hours put in. Like, if you think you're working hard, you're probably not working as hard as somebody else. You might be the hardest worker in your neighborhood or something, but you go to another neighborhood, maybe you're the hardest worker in that neighborhood, but then you scale it out. Are you the hardest worker in your city? You got to really look at it from that perspective. And another thing I did a lot was I looked at players that I could model my game after and kind of implement their skills into mine, because you got to look at people that you can compare yourself to. Like, I wasn't necessarily going and looking at LeBron James highlights, because I know that's not what I'm going to do in game, I was going to look at Chris Paul and Steve Nash and see how they use their body and come off screens, stuff that I could see myself doing in game, kind of just try to put that into my workouts, and my dad did a good job of that when I
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. Who were some of your favorite point guards then growing up to model? You said Chris Paul, but like
Yeah,
who else
I'm a
would you?
big Chris Paul fan. Steve Nash, Steph Curry. Obviously, I'm a big Steph Curry guy. Um, an underrated name was Darren Williams.
Oh
I
man.
used to love Darren Williams. He had the ball on a string, so I used to do a lot of his stuff. Recently, Peyton Pritchard.
Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah,
I
he's
like that.
Peyton Pritchard. That's an underrated one. You probably didn't see
He's
that one
very
coming.
underrated. He
He's very
should get some
underrated.
he should get some time. I mean, like
Hmm.
looking at the Celtics, I'm sure he'll move on soon and hopefully like I think any other team in the NBA would probably get a chance. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think I saw something in the news about him wanting to seek a trade this offseason. So I would like to see him be able to actually go do his thing and play somewhere. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are great names and I mean, I'm remembering back to when I would work out. I'd always look at a guy like Luka Doncic
Yeah,
and like those
Luka,
passers and point guards that can like just create the flow of an offense. And it was
for
just
sure.
like, man, these guys are on another level, you
Yeah.
know. But always comparing yourself to those guys, you know.
It helps. It for sure helps.
Yeah. So let's get into kind of your high school years. Let's talk about kind of your team a little bit. How successful were you guys, and like how far would you make it normally?
So I had a really good team my freshman year. It was full of a bunch of college players.
Okay.
Leon Ayers, who was at Bowling Green this year, we played against him actually. He
Yeah.
was trying to go make a professional name for himself. I had a lot of good players on that team. We basically we made it out the district every time but my senior year.
Okay.
And my junior year got cut short. So
Yes, okay.
we really didn't get to play much of the playoffs then, but we had the district in that too. And my sophomore year, we lost in the regionals. So we made it fairly far every time.
Okay. Okay. And then what was one of your favorite games in high school? I'm always interested to see like especially those college guys that get into that next level. They can dominate some games. So was there one game where you were just feeling it and like were feeling good about yourself?
One game that I can remember that comes specifically to mind was my sophomore year when we were playing our rivals, Troy Athens, and those games are always packed. So I think it was earlier in the season, like third or fourth game. So it was pretty early, and I had 35 points that game as a sophomore. And basically the whole city was out to watch the game. So it was a big game. I felt like the man after, and it was kind of like my breakout, you know, kind of set me going forward, especially as like a young sophomore where I didn't really do that my freshman year. It was kind of surprising to some people. So that was definitely one of my bigger games.
Could you just like not miss, or were you like breaking guys down? Was it the
It was a
mid-range
lot.
threes?
I was scoring on 3 levels that game. I felt like that game I was just playing slower and letting the game come to me, you know, not trying to force too much, and it turned out well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Like those are always the craziest games and the ones that are just so much fun to look back on.
Yeah, I always think about that game. It was a fun game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the only time I've ever felt that way in a basketball arena, and I wasn't the best basketball player in the world, so it was my freshman season with Colin Shannon as my coach, and I had 20 points against Green Hills, and I was feeling it.
Yeah.
I was feeling myself. I hit like 4 threes, and I was like, all right, I'm here.
Yeah.
But that was the only game I've ever had that.
It's a great feeling, though.
It's a great feeling.
phenomenal feeling.
100%. All right, we're going to take a little break and we're going to switch over to some of the stuff that Brody's doing now when we get back.
Hello. This is Giovanni Mosheri. You might have heard me a couple times on Jake's Takes. I am the sports media director of Oakland University's campus radio station, WXOU, and I've been the host for about 2 years of a weekly sports show called The Jomo Show, where we cover all of Oakland University athletics, including a weekly update on scores and highlights, as well as interviews with athletes or those otherwise involved in athletics. You can listen to The Jomo Show live on WXOU Thursdays at 6, or you can tune in to me afterwards on Spotify. It's The Jomo Show.
All right. Welcome back into the show. And we're going to switch over now to Brody's college life and talk about it a little bit. So, Brody, your first 2 years were with Oakland.
Yep.
Okay. So, talk to me a little bit about those 2 years. How did you kind of develop as a player? And what was it like switching from high school into college?
Yeah, so I really would just want to start off by saying I love my 2 years at Oakland. It was a great experience. I enjoyed all the players and staff I was around. It was a good time. But along the lines of the development, I think one of the biggest roles was playing under Jalen Moore and being his backup, because he's just such a talented player, and his knowledge for the game is really light years ahead of a lot of other college players. So playing against him and having to guard him and see the reads he makes in practice, it was really helpful for me because I definitely took a lot of his skill sets and just intangibles and tried to put it into my game. Just, he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a really good player.
Yeah.
You've seen it with your eyes. So it was helpful playing against him. And going off of the difference between high school and college, the athletes.
The athletes. Okay.
That's the main part. You're playing against kids that are not as strong, not as fast as you, maybe can't jump as high as you in high school, but when you get to college, you're back to being that little freshman.
Yeah.
You're a senior, big senior in high school. You go back to being the little freshman in college. So just playing against these stronger, more athletic guys, it definitely helped. Definitely helped.
Yeah. I mean, I could imagine just walking in the gym. I mean, I even had it as a manager, just walking in the gym, and I was like, this is different. It's gonna take some time. I'm gonna have to get used to this. But especially being a point guard, your size, you have to execute everything in the brain. I'm sure it started out and everything was super fast. How did it slow down for you?
Just by playing, really, just by putting myself in uncomfortable situations. My freshman year, as you know, we play that zone.
Yeah.
And Micah and Jamal were the two top tandem guys in the zone.
Yeah.
So you can probably imagine the struggles I had as a freshman, starting off early when I came in. A lot of turnovers, a lot of bad plays. But as time went on, I got a lot better. Didn't turn it over as much, made some better plays. So it's really about just being in those situations and being able to see it. You can't prepare yourself by just watching it. You have to really put yourself in the position. So that was a big part, just playing against them and becoming more comfortable through reps.
I got you. I mean, that makes sense, especially with Micah and Jamal. Now Jamal now being on the Miami Heat. Funny thing is they're running some zone in the NBA Finals, which is actually kind of cool. I wish Jamal was playing with that. That'd be awesome.
Yep.
And then Micah just made it to the championship game.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was a big part of that team. So it'd definitely be tough.
Definitely a tough job for me to do. But,
yeah.
Especially at my size, we put those guys to the side, it's still difficult just because my size, and you just have to figure out other ways to move on the court, just other ways to be successful. So, yeah, it's just stuff you learn through practice, really.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And after this year, so you played out this year and actually had a very productive season. You got a lot better. And then moving on, you decided to enter the transfer portal.
Yep.
So what came into your decision? Why did you enter the transfer portal?
There was a lot of reasons. I just wanted to really get back to just playing my style of basketball that I was comfortable with playing. I'm not a true point guard. I'm really a shooting guard.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to Rochester to be. And that's what I kind of just wanted to transfer and go look at other options, because in all of my life I've been a shooting guard, coming off screens, shooting the ball. That's what I'm best at. So I just kind of wanted to go play that style of game somewhere. So I thought transfer would probably be my best option.
I got you. And then how did that process kind of work for you? Did you want to go D1 to begin with, or what was kind of the decision-making process there?
I was kind of back and forth in my head. Obviously, you're at the D1 level. Every kid wants to stay at that level. The D1 level is a great experience. You get everything you want. You get treated like a king, really. So, obviously, I wanted to go to the D1 level, but I'm also I'm a huge homebody. I'm really close with my family, so I didn't want to leave the area at the same time. So I had decisions to make. But ultimately, I ended up choosing Rochester. They were really high on me in high school. They loved me in high school. I've always had connections to the team. I got a few friends on the team. And I get my main wish of being able to stay close to home. So that was an opportunity I really couldn't pass up on, just because how close they are to home and just all my connections with the team, really.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I mean, that kind of went into my college decision too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my decision was between Central and Oakland, and I
Yeah.
was like, I want to be a part of a basketball team, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And Oakland gave me that that ability, and
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like, you know, staying at home is just a perk of it, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And you're still being able to play at this level, which is a very good level where you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
play
yeah.
really tough teams, and
Exactly.
you know, it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited for you. So
Yeah, yeah.
leading into that, we're coming into next year. Summer practices are going to start soon, and
Yep.
you're going to start getting back into it. So what are your expectations for yourself going into next year?
For myself, I really don't have many specific expectations. I'm not gonna like label a points per game, assists per game, rebounds per game on it. I really just wanna go in and contribute to winning. You know, I just winning is really important to me. Just I'm a huge winner. I'm really competitive when it comes to that. So I want to win the championship in the league. That's the main thing I want to do. We weren't able to do it our 2 years here at Oakland, unfortunately, which sucks. But this is a new opportunity to do it, and I think the team that we have is in a good position to do so. So I'm excited for that. I really am. And just like from my solo standpoint, just play my game and just contribute in ways that I can towards the team success. That's what I'm most worried about. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to put it. Like looking at it in a team way,
Yeah.
it only leads to success for not only yourself but
Mhm.
for the team as well.
Yeah.
Because everything about being a team player is like sacrificing for the team.
Exactly.
You know?
That's true.
So, you know, I'm really excited for you moving on to Rochester and in your process as a basketball player.
Yeah,
But
appreciate
let's have some fun
All right.
before you leave the podcast. I want to talk about some fantasy football.
Yeah.
Because that is what we have talked about every single day, literally
day.
every fall, like all fall last year.
Yep.
And it was so much fun. We just talked about fantasy football and how our teams were doing. So I want to get into some running backs going into next
Okay.
year because
do it.
this is what I'm really interested in. So Bijan Robinson's coming into the league, right? And I want to hear how high you are on him for fantasy football. I'm interested.
So I've done a few mock drafts on the fantasy football app, and I will tell you right now, I am not as high as on him as he is going in the drafts. He's going like mid first round,
Yeah.
and I am not picking him mid first round.
Okay.
I'm not doing it. I just can't. I haven't seen what I know like his resume in college, but I just have to see what he does in the NFL first before I take a first round gamble instead of going with somebody that I know is produced.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fair. I'm looking at it and I'm still very high on him. I think if he's there second round, I'm taking him 100%.
Oh, 100%
And
second round, yeah.
and that's because like he's coming into a Falcons offense that had the top rushing attack, and they don't even have a great O-line.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. They had the top rushing attack with Cordell Patterson, who was a receiver and now is a running back.
Yeah.
So now you add Bijan into that place, and Cordell gets some of the carries still. I think it's going to be really good for him, and I think he's going to be successful. So I see him as a top back, but
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like
Yeah.
some people have him as number 1 overall.
I
And-
couldn't do it.
It's like I don't know if I'm there yet.
Yeah.
That leads me into Jahmyr Gibbs.
I was just gonna mention it, and that's target number one.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take him target number one. He's not gonna, because I'm just not foolish like that. I'm not gonna take him with my first pick in the first round, but he's somebody that I really want. I
Okay,
think he's gonna
okay.
explode,
Yeah.
just explode. Cause I've been hearing Alvin Kamara, like type build from Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
And he coached Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. So I'm just excited to see what he does. And as a Lions fan, and my whole entire fantasy draft, all my friends are Lions fans.
Yeah.
We were talking about how he's just going to go a lot higher than he probably should in our draft.
Yeah.
But
That's
everybody
true.
wants him, because it's just more entertaining watching your players
Yeah.
when you're watching on TV, and everybody watches the Lions. So, yeah, there's definitely somebody I'm gonna try to target.
Yeah, I mean, like I talked a lot about it with Giovanni when he was on the show,
Mm-hmm.
but we talked about how the Lions picks, they have to succeed now.
Yeah.
Because we're not waiting around for you. Like we gave Akuda some time and
Yep.
we decided to trade him. That's okay.
Yep. Same with Swift.
Yeah, the same with Swift. We gave him some time. These guys have to go
Yeah, they
off
have
like
to, yeah.
immediately. And like that's why we picked Gibbs as high as we did. And so Gibbs is going to have a lot of pressure. But I agree with you. I think he's going to succeed in that pressure. I don't know if I want him personally for fantasy. I just don't think I want to pick him because, like you were saying, somebody's going to pick him early. And I'm not going to be that guy to pick him early and have that hometown bias. But I do think it's going to be interesting. And I think he's going to have an awesome year. I hope so, at least.
Especially with how strong I think the Lions O-line will be this year.
Yeah.
I think he'll be successful. And I've heard a lot of like reports on Twitter about him being lined up at slot a lot in early practices. So, I mean,
That'll be
running back
interesting.
with receptions, you mix that in with fantasy football, that's bound to make
Gibbs and Amon-Ra in the slot. Whew.
Yeah, that could be dangerous.
That could be dangerous.
Very
and then
dangerous.
maybe add D-Hop as the deep threat, maybe.
I would love D-Hop on the Lions. Man, I would love that. And once J-Mo comes back, you mix in all those three,
Exactly.
could be dangerous.
Exactly. What do you think about the J-Mo suspension with the betting on sports?
I think it's stupid. I think it's just why do that if you're in the position you are, especially after missing most of last year.
Yeah.
But he might be a guy that I just pick up and I stash late because I do
True.
think he'll come back and have a good year.
Yeah.
I think he will. He's missing the first 6 games,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't just rule him out because of that. He was worked into the offense the last few games towards the season, and now I think they're really ready to just let him go.
Yeah, no, I'm really hoping so. Like, especially as a big Lions fan. Like,
Yeah.
We'll see what's up. We have a lot of big expectations, and we'll see what's up there.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting back to some of the running backs, how high are you on like a guy like Christian McCaffrey and all those top backs that we're seeing, like Kamara and
Mm-hmm.
those guys? How high where do you have them? Like, let me put it this way: where would you rank the running backs if you had to
Okay.
rank?
That's a tough one. So
Yeah.
I'm going CMC number 1.
Okay.
Even though his injuries scare me, like he's just so versatile. You can't rule him out.
Yeah.
If there's a backup on the board, it's CMC. You got to take him.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I might go Eckler.
Eckler would be a good
Eckler
one.
had a good season, and he gets a lot of volume in that offense. So I might go Eckler there. You can't rule out Derrick Henry. He's getting old, but you can't rule out Derrick Henry. Nick Chubb had a really good season. He was on my fantasy team last year.
Yeah, I mean, he
So,
was a monster.
Yeah, he was good. Both him and
especially
Derrick Henry.
especially if you give him with Kareem Hunt too. Like
Yeah.
have them both. Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a bad thing at
Yes,
all.
that wouldn't be a bad stack at all.
Yeah.
And guys like Travis Etienne and Kenneth Walker, guys that are young but just have breakout potential. I think those guys, they're mid-3rd to 4th round picks right now, but I can see them really having a great season.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. And if I had to think about the running back, like I do like the Derrick Henry thing. I think with Tennessee, it's going to be really interesting because you've heard a lot about Tannehill and Will Levis and all that. What I've been hearing right now is Will Levis doesn't look good in camp.
I've heard the same thing. I've
And-
heard his accuracy is off. I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, and so Tannehill will probably be back, and that would mean probably more time management style. If they're smart, that would mean time management style because I don't think Tannehill is anything more than that.
Yeah.
Like he's just a great QB rating guy and a guy that doesn't turn over the football. So hopefully that would mean more Derrick Henry. And then Najee Harris, man. I
Najee.
really hope that he can really like get it up because you saw his rookie year, he got all of the carries that he needed.
Yeah.
And then they just completely went away with it with Pickett last year. So I'm really hoping that they bring him back just to kind of feel like the defense, oh, they're starting to pass more. Oh, no, we went back to Najee. You know, I feel like it would just throw the defense off guard a little bit, and he could be kind of a sleeper when it comes to this.
He definitely could. He was a first-round pick last year, so that shows the type of rookie season he had. And just one bad season doesn't mean he's not going to come back and do it again. It was really the offensive scheme that held him down.
Yeah.
So if they kind of change that up, and which I feel they will, considering the success they had last year wasn't great. So I could definitely see Najee having a good season, and he kind of heated up towards the end too. He started really slow, but kind of started to heat up a little bit. So he could be a sleeper that I might pick up for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'll definitely be interesting. But before we go, I want to hear one more sleeper you have. Just a sleeper that comes first sleeper that comes to your head.
How high of a sleeper do you want it to be? Do you want it to be like a real sleeper, like nobody is thinking about picking him up, or like a sleeper that people are already kind of like know about?
Let's do like a real sleeper.
A real sleeper.
Yeah.
Okay. A real sleeper.
And I'm kind of putting you on the spot, so no worries here.
Give me a second to think about this one. You know, a name that has not been mentioned that I think is going to have a great season, and I'm looking to pick him up? Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley.
That's going to be my sleeper pick. Calvin Ridley. He missed all of last year, but with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback in the offense it had last year, you pair him next to Christian Kirk, like he's going to have a great season.
Yeah.
He had 1,400 yards the season before he got suspended too. A lot of people forget about that. So with Trevor Lawrence thrown to him, I'm really excited about that. That's a guy that I really want to get.
Yeah, I mean, like, and what I've been hearing in the training camp is he looks like unbelievable, flat out unbelievable. Yeah. So that is a great sleeper. I didn't even think about that.
Calvin Ridley, there you go.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And the Jaguars are definitely going to be interesting too. Yeah. Like, especially with the addition of Ridley. Like, if their defense can continue to play at a solid level, like, they could be near the top of the AFC again.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like, it'll be interesting.
You give that team another year to keep the momentum they had from last year. They could be scary. They could be good.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Brody, thank you so much for joining the podcast, man. This was a lot of fun, just chopping up some fantasy football, talking about you leading into next year. I'm really excited to watch you next year, watch you develop and grow, and it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Yeah, this was a great time. I enjoyed it. You're going to have to come out to a few games next year. You're a local guy, so I got to see you at a few.
I'll definitely be at a few. Don't worry about that. Awesome. I will be here. Maybe we'll do a Jake's Takes at the game. That'd be interesting.
Or a Jake's Takes post-game interview or something.
Jake's Takes post-game interview. That'd be interesting. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. All right, Brody. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast, and we'll be back at you guys soon. Peace.